Amid the discussions in Israel, local officials in Gaza say at least 38 people were killed while seeking aid from United Nations convoys and sites run by an Israeli-backed American contractor. Local hospitals say another 25 people were killed in Israeli airstrikes. For more, let's bring in Ambassador James Jeffrey. He is the former special representative for Syria and ISIS. Let's begin with the Israeli Prime Minister. James, despite the growing criticism domestically and internationally, he plans to convene his security cabinet tomorrow to discuss expanding Israel's military campaign into the rest of Gaza. What kind of impact will a possible expansion have, do you think?
Well, thanks for having me. First of all, it will cause considerable tension with Europeans, with Arab states, and around the world, and increasingly isolate Israel. The main problem will be with the U.S. because people in the United States, including the Trump administration, want to know how does this all end and what is the plan to finalize the war in Gaza and get beyond it. Get the hostages back, get Hamas out of its position of control, and find some kind of peace. That's the key question. We'll have to see how Netanyahu answers it.
Yeah, a lot of people certainly want a lot of information about that and when this is all going to end. The UN Assistant Secretary General briefed a Security Council meeting called by Israel, and it comes after pictures of 2 emaciated hostages were released. The UN concluded the only way to end the crisis is for the hostages to be released and for humanitarian aid to be allowed in. So this seems very similar to what other leaders have said. Is this any different? And does the UN carry some weight in the situation?
The UN carries little weight because it is so one-sided and has been one-sided against Israel for decades. The problem is there aren't 2 conditions, there are 3. Return of the hostages, humanitarian assistance to the suffering people of Gaza, and thirdly, removal of Hamas from power and elimination of its threat to Israel. That's the whole purpose of the Israeli war.
Also, France is saying that it plans to recognize a Palestinian state, along with promises from Britain and Canada to follow suit. So does this give Hamas incentive to raise the diplomatic price for releasing the hostages?
Of course, it is immature, ridiculous, and a good example of why the Europeans are not willing to play a true realpolitik role in this crisis. There are other ways to pressure Israel if you want to pressure Israel, particularly on the humanitarian front. But this is not a way. This is just going to get the Israelis' backs up, and for good reason.
You know, and James, also, I'd like to ask you one more question on the humanitarian aid part of this. How does humanitarian aid get into Gaza? What is the solution, in your opinion?
Well, there are many different solutions. The main thing is Israel and the United States have to cooperate more than they have in the last few weeks with the goal of eliminating this propaganda victory for Hamas. There's been enough, over the last almost 2 years, there's been enough humanitarian aid flowing into Gaza in fits and starts, but nonetheless flowing in to keep the population alive and more or less functioning. The Israelis and the United States can return to that, but we must do so very quickly given the situation.
Such a difficult situation it is. James Jeffrey, thank you for your thoughts on this. We appreciate you.
Thank you.